Hey everyone, so in this video I will be discussing how I personally studied for the LSAT. I made a first part to this video on what the LSAT is and the dates, the prices, etc. Everything that you need to know when you're considering going into law school. I studied with two different LSAT companies, and I will be going through a list of pros and cons of each company. So to backtrack, I was in a pre-law fraternity, Phi Alpha Delta, when I was in undergrad at FSU, and basically this organization told me about what I need to prepare for the LSAT, how I can prepare for the LSAT, and told me one of the major companies that most people use to study for the LSAT, which is TestMasters. This was great at the time because being a member of Phi Alpha Delta gave me a discount code for TestMasters, so I got about $500 off of the actual course. Now I'm going to go into my pros and cons of TestMasters. What is TestMasters? Like I said before, TestMasters is an LSAT prep company. I believe it might be one of the oldest. They have live courses and they have online courses. Personally, at the time, I was super stressed out and I was like, I don't think I would be able to do an online course because I wouldn't be able to hold myself accountable. So I opted for the live course. And so that's what I will be discussing, my experience in that. Pros, I wrote it down. So pros of the live course, you're forced to learn. You come in and you discuss what they assigned you for homework, and you're surrounded by a group, I guess, of like-minded individuals because they're studying for the LSAT too, and they're hoping that they'll get into law school. So you're just in the study environment that keeps you focused and on track for preparing for the LSAT. The instructors were nice. They were helpful. If you had any questions, you could reach out to them. Also on their website, you could call and chat with people if you had any questions. They administered practice exams, I want to say every Saturday or every other Saturday. And it was the feel of the LSAT. Therefore, you had a booklet, because back when I took it, it was written. You had a booklet, you sat in a room. There was a proctor there, which was our instructor. And they basically mimicked the environment of what the actual LSAT would be, so that when you go into the LSAT, you wouldn't feel as if this was the first time that you were going into a room like this. And it just kind of eased the anxiety of the test and all of that good stuff. So my cons, it was a 4-hour class and we got one break. Personally, I don't like to sit in a class for 4 hours and just learn and have somebody throwing information at me. I don't think that's how I learn best. And I think that's something that you need to take into consideration. How do you learn best? If you're not the type of person that can just sit through a lecture, I would not recommend taking the live course with TestMasters. If you like to talk to people, if you like to interact with people, it may or may not benefit you. It depends. I know another con for me was that some people would ask questions about material that I already knew and I just wanted to move on. On the flip side, if you had questions and people felt like they already knew the material, it just, everybody learns at their own pace. Not everybody's learning on the same pace. So keep that in mind when you're considering a live course, because some people learn faster than others and you may be one of those people who just want to move along. Another con for me was the price. It was extremely expensive. It was $1,650 and it still is $1,650. But through Phi Alpha Delta, I was able to get $500 off my course. So it came to about $1,100 for this live course. I will leave the link in my bio so you can determine whether or not this is something that you would be interested in as far as the prices go, locations, etc. My last con for TestMasters was that it was a lot of work to keep up with. Literally, we met, I think, twice a week for 4 hours. At the time, I was interning with a criminal defense attorney, so I took it over the summer, and I planned on taking the September LSAT. And it was just a lot of work between my internship, working long hours, and then going in and having to sit for 4 hours. Homework was a lot. And if you're not ready to keep up and you're not prepared to keep up, I would not recommend you taking the live course. I would recommend maybe an online course or self-studying. And that brings me into the second test prep company that I studied with, PowerScore. So you're probably wondering, why did I take two test prep companies? Over the summer, like I said, I took TestMasters, and towards the end of the summer, I lost my grandma. I completely stopped going to my live courses because I was in Tallahassee at the time, and when my grandma passed, I'm from South Florida, so I went home for the funeral, this, that, and the third, and it just basically threw off my studying. And like I said, in the lives course, everything's going at a really fast pace. It's not your own pace. So when I came back, I pushed off my LSAT test date. I no longer took it in September, and I plan on taking it in December. But I didn't want to pay another $1,100 to prepare for the LSAT. So I looked into different companies and I found PowerScore, and thank God I did. My experience with PowerScore was amazing. I decided to self-study, and I spent about $160 on the trilogy, which is basically their logic games Bible, their logical reasoning Bible, and their reading comprehension Bible. Now it's currently priced at $150, which I think is a steal. This doesn't include their workbooks. I bought the trilogy and I bought the Logic Games Bible workbook so I could practice my logic games, because that is one of the easiest sections to improve on the LSAT. So I would recommend getting that down pat. I'll go into my pros and cons about PowerScore so I don't get off track. First and foremost, they have a self-study schedule on their website. You basically print out this schedule and it'll tell what you should read and what you should practice based on their workbooks. It was amazing, because if I fell behind, I knew where I could keep up. I would just check mark what I already did and what I completed. And like I said, it was flexible. I got to study on my own. Their workbooks are easy to understand, which is another pro. You don't want to be reading or self-studying and you just completely don't even understand what you're reading. It was perfect. It not only allowed me to study on my own schedule, it was easy to understand. I felt somewhat entertained. It wasn't boring at all. Yeah, it was great. I would definitely recommend this if you are a self-studier and you feel like you're disciplined enough to self-study. Let me back up, because I don't necessarily feel like I was disciplined enough to self-study in the beginning. Like I said, I took the live course with TestMasters. However, when you really want something, you're going to go after it and you're going to do it. And I know that you want to go to law school. You are watching this video right now. So don't think that you can't self-study, because you can, and you can save the money. I wish I didn't waste $1,100 with TestMasters, but I did. And whatever, it probably helped me with a base foundation going into PowerScore. But I'm telling you, PowerScore gives you all the tools that you need to succeed and excel when taking the LSAT. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to get the best LSAT prep. I guess another pro, I already talked about the price, but that is definitely a pro. I mean, come on, $150 compared to $1,650, it's a no-brainer. I basically went through all my pros. Easy to understand, the price was great, there was a self-study so I could study at my own pace, and of course, I'm sure if you had any questions, you could contact them. I just didn't need to, because the books were so easy to understand. I have literally no cons with PowerScore, and I recommend to everyone, all of my friends, all the prospective law students that say, hey Narinah, I want to go to law school, what do you recommend I use? Use PowerScore. You'll save yourself time, you'll save yourself money. And now that they've switched to digital, I was on the PowerScore website when I was preparing for this video, and I noticed that they have a live course. Y'all, when I was an undergrad, they only had the self-study books and they had the online course. It's crazy. Now I'm feeling old because so much has changed in the past like 2 years. So it's weird, but I'm not old though. I'm only 20. A woman never tells her age. Just kidding. But now they have a live course, which is pretty awesome. I mean, since I love this company so much, I would probably take their live course, but for the very same reasons that I told you about TestMasters, probably wouldn't take a live course. But who knows, different companies, different approaches. I would consider it for PowerScore because I love their book so much, and TestMasters doesn't have a self-study book. You basically have to throw your book away. That is all I have for you today. That is how I personally studied for the LSAT. I know there are other companies, but I haven't heard great things about them. Like Kaplan, I've never heard good things about that company, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend taking it. But I hope your takeaway from this video is that it doesn't matter if you go to a live course and spend all this money. It doesn't matter if you self-study. You can still do well on the LSAT and you can still get into law school. I recommend you doing what's best for you. Don't do what your friends are doing. Do what's best for you, what feels comfortable. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like this video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe. If you have any comments for me, feel free to leave them below, and I'll see you next time.